Recording in progress.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to week 3 of Fiercely Flash. We are talking about narrative point of view this time. I love this lesson just because we get to explore the different points of view, which is really fantastic. We have a full-size gathering, so we should probably just jump right in. Any questions before we start? Okay, great. Then I'm going to share screen and get us, if share screen was on my screen, I would do it. Um, and get us over to where we're going to do our timeline thing to start off with. Here it is. Here we are. Oh, that's the end. No, not the end. Come on.
Yay, we done. We did a good job.
I was gonna say, why? Yay, it's supposed to be
Congratulations,
really fun.
everybody.
You're getting a preview of all the pictures. This is no fair. It should say across the bottom that we're going to do the writing thing. I don't know why it doesn't say that. So we're going to begin with the thing where you go from the birth of either you or your character, whatever you want to choose for today, and take that to the present and just write down, again, sensory memories are the best place to start. Something that belongs to you physically. You know, I was trying to think of a sensory memory that I had this weekend, but it was the Ponderosa Pine when I stepped out at my brother's house, and it just took me back to living in Colorado because even in the winter, they smell so great. So something has landed you, in a memory, maybe being cold sometime, anything that you can do, particularly with touch, taste, and smell. Write those across the timeline, and they might be useful to you in a little bit when we do our writing exercises. So, all right, go ahead and start. All right. I hope that was fruitful and that some things popped up you were not expecting. That's the favorite, right? Wonderful. Well, here's our little person, and we're going to get going on narrative point of view. Now, I do want to acknowledge that a lot of this is review. You're all writers. I understand that you are familiar with it. All we're doing tonight is, sort of re-examining it, reminding ourselves why we might want to work in one or the other, and some advantages that come with that. So please don't think that I think you don't know narrative point of view. I know you do. It's just a great reminder, I think, to do this and to make choices when we use it. So,
I don't. I feel like I don't. Sometimes I feel like I don't understand it. I don't know why. I don't know.
okay,
I get confused and I'm not sure why I do.
I think that's utterly fair.
voices in my head. I don't know.
No, it's utterly fair. And so all the more reason to review it, right? And as we review it, you're going to say to yourself, I know this,
Yeah.
but reviewing it is helpful. And again, making choices are helpful. And you'll see, I say later in the talk that I have prepared tonight, that it is a really great way at the micro and the flash length, especially to explore a story and find out what you don't know by shifting up the narrative point of view, and you learn things about characters or the plot or even about what your sort of big so what, what your insight to the piece can be. Sometimes you can expose that just by shifting the point of view. So I think that's why it's so important to get into it.
Mhm.
So this is all reminders, and this stuff is also up in Canvas so you can review it. But first person is the I, and the we can talk about that. There can be a first person plural that is different than the fourth we're going to talk about in a second. So I, we, my, our. And the thing about first person that I've got right here for us is that it does create intimacy, this direct access. There's a person who writes, like critiques, is a critic of memoir and autobiography. Her name is Jill Kerr Conway. And she says, we read autobiography to try on other people's lives, which is a little like Hannibal Lecter, but also delicious. And that's exactly what the first person point of view can do for us. It can let us really just climb inside another character's skin and inhabit their world and go through that world with them. So both creepy and wonderful. In the second person, that's the you, your. And so the author is asking the reader to be directly in that headspace, not being in the direct access to the emotions and psyches in the same way. Instead, the you is saying, this story really is about you. And it's a little complicated because you're being asked to go through all these things that the character does, but that character's kind of you because they want you to be in that headspace. And so I think people resist it, particularly at a longer length, because I'm like, no, I wouldn't go to Cairo and date a movie star. That's just not me, right? So um, it is really effective and quite popular though at the flash length. And that's because we do have tolerance to do it for a little while. I think that it can grow old, but in the length that we're writing for this class, micro and flash, it's really fun to be told this is what you have going on. So as it says here, and I got all of this from the Readsy blog that I put at the bottom of this slide. I don't want you to think that I've shifted a word or two because I didn't love all their wording, but this is ideas I got from another source. And it can be alienating, but as it says here, if you get it right, it can be incredibly intimate because the reader will feel as if they're actually having the experience, which is incredible. There's two types of third person point of view. And so we have the third person limited. And when it's limited, that means when you're going through the plot, when we're in this person's third person view, we can only see their feelings. We only have their understanding. We only have their perspective. And this is the one that's kind of easy to mess up because we sometimes want to head hop and give the perspective from another character, but it can't be known if you're limiting it to one person. And this is a point of view that has been written quite a bit about in fairly contemporary literature. I mean, not about, but in. And so I know first person is becoming quite popular, particularly, say, for young adult. Third person
Mhm.
limited is also very popular. And so the thing that is the important distinction between third person, I got to put you guys on the hummingbird, I can't see it. Third person limited and third person omniscient is that strong sense that somebody is telling us a story in omniscient. So there's another voice. We often don't know that character, but it is a distinct character. Not a character that you develop as a character, not necessarily, you could. But this third person omniscient, it's kind of like when the snowman that's Burl Ives opens up the Rudolph story, and then he technically is narrating the whole story, and he pops back in the middle at one point, and we kind of get reminded, oh, that's right, Burl Ives, snowman guy, Frosty, I think, is telling us the story. It's a little bit like that. It would be that distinctive in a way. If you were trying to practice being comfortable with it, maybe you give your narrator some kind of, dialect or whatever. But you have to think of it as if, um, say you're writing your story, but you pretend like I'm telling the story, me, Max, try to imagine what I'm like. And it would be that distinctive voice who would annoyingly say like too much.
Mhm.
And so this one, it's the all-knowing perspective. It's omniscient because it's kind of a godlike perspective. And we can get inside other people's heads, but only as somebody from the outside would be telling us about, right? And so you need to have that strong sense of somebody not in the action, not in the plot, telling us about it. And that's what makes it omniscient. And the example from today, I didn't do third person limited. I did third person omniscient only because I think it's a little bit harder. And even we might even have a discussion if I got it right. So, any questions to this point on the point of view? Any concerns about distinctions yet?
Max, do you know the term breaking the fourth wall?
Hmm.
Is that kind of on third person omniscient?
I would think breaking the fourth wall, which is a bit more of a cinematic term than it is a writing term, but even so,
Mhm.
would be more like directly addressing the reader. Kind of
Okay.
like when Jane Austen says, "And do you know what she did, dear reader?"
Yeah.
Yeah. So it'd be more
Okay.
like, yeah.
Not
And
so not
omniscient,
quite a point of view.
one of the ways that omniscient gets established really nicely, and this would be typically when somebody has a longer piece, is it does that cinematic thing where it'll telescope in,
Hmm.
on a summer day in 1987 when, you know, the mockingbirds were singing at the Air Force Academy, a young, stupid young woman got off a bus and started being screamed at by cadets at the United States Air Force Academy. Did she know what she was doing? No. Was it a good idea? That's yet to be seen. But you see
Yeah.
how that voice is describing me and where I am, and but it's not me. And
Right.
it's not, you know, did she know what she was doing? Yes, that voice knows that she didn't know what she was doing. If I were telling it third person limited, I'd say, she trembled in her seat as, she pulled up and they started screaming at her. And an
Right.
omniscient person would say, she was trembling in her seat as well, but it'd be observing it instead of us being with her in that close in third person limited.
Gotcha.
Make sense?
Hmm.
I get it
Really?
now.
You get it now?
Yeah, I do. I didn't get it last time. I got it.
Yay. Clearly, I've been talking with my Air Force Academy roommates on it because I came up with an Air Force Academy example. I kept this picture because it's just too great not to have in here. Now, there is a fourth person point of view, and I'm offering fourth person collective because it is the most effective fourth person voice for storytelling. There is fourth person indirect, is that the word? That is the one, like one would think that anyone could, whatever, right? This is the collective one is the one that's so much fun. This one really is a good time in flash writing and in micro. And it's multiple characters or a collective group speaking as a single, it says a single narrative from Breedsy, but almost like a single voice. But the voice has a multitude. It's, well, what we're obviously going to have an example and we're going to write this one. So I will definitely explore this a little more. But this is fun because it's the shared life experiences of communities. And so I did one that was after Sarah Freely's We Dive. I did one called We Laugh about women, and when we laugh and stop laughing and start laughing again across a lifetime, kind of. And so it's the representation of an entire group, and the group can have discord within each other, and that's part of what makes it so fun. It would say, some of us did this and some of us did that, or whatever. You'll see, an example of it. But it really adds both a sense of mystery and dissociation, as they say, because it's not omniscient and you're kind of pulled back from it, and it's not one single person, but in many ways it can create that absolute relatability for your reader because you're like, yeah, we are like this, aren't we? And so your reader almost can, if the reader is with the right group, you can kind of get scooped up into it. And this happens quite a bit there's several really good micros and flashes that are written about culture at a certain time period. So were you raised on TV, or, were you raised in the time of, as you'll see in a bit, cassette tapes, And so they speak as a collective for, say Gen Z or Gen X or something like that. Questions on this one? Or are you just going to hold off until we see the example to see if you really see what I mean?
It was a good example. It's a fun exercise to do. Like even to just think of a sentence that starts with we to start
Yeah.
something, start off a thought. It was fun.
Yeah, and I have a different writing this time that we're writing
Okay.
from. So I have a different example, and I was playing hardball because I picked a first person that starts with the word we because I'm me.
Oh, oh, then maybe I didn't pick up on that. I was trying to read them yesterday night before I went to bed just to and
Oh, you don't mean from last time, you mean this time.
no, I mean yeah, I've been trying to read ahead because then it just helps like me
Yeah,
comprehend the stuff. Like
yeah.
having yeah, sometimes I can't
Oh,
read. I'm
yeah, the
sorry.
example's no, the example's not different tonight from what I posted. I thought you meant last time we had class because I think we did TV Kids or one like TV Kids last time.
We did TV Kids. TV
Yeah,
Kids was yeah.
it's such a great one. But I wanted more. I wanted new. I wanted to do more. So I thought this photo was such a great way to say first person, right? And what we're going to do moving forward from here now, we've reviewed what they are, but now we're going to see them in practice. And two of the four examples we're going to write from. I don't think we're writing on second person and fourth person. So this time we're just going to read this and we're going to just talk about it a little. And so I am going to move on to what it is. Is this readable enough, or can you use your handout? Is anybody willing to take a look at this? I
I want
have
to read it.
good because I have oh yeah, because you have a really big connection to this. I have a really small screen tonight, so I can't see over the words because y'all are sitting on.
Right, this is right where I grew up, so I know all these places. Is That All
Oh,
There Is by Francis Gapper. We didn't pay to go into Wells Cathedral, instead gazed up at the rows of blank-faced, wind-eroded sculptures, upright saints and seated monarchs, half angels. We walked through penniless porch, found a street of branded outlets and crowded tea shops. You asked, is that all there is? Like in Peggy Lee's smoky song. Nearing the car, you said Wells was too small for us, or too big. You're always thinking about moving somewhere else. We'd parked in a lucky free space alongside Cathedral Green. Behind us, a white camper van decorated with slogans, an adventure before dementia, spending the kids' inheritance. Same van again in Cheddar, but we lost them on a roundabout near Burnham-on-Sea. I liked their ebullience, but you frowned, thinking of your adult children. We'd booked a static caravan on a haven site, aiming for a cheap holiday. But because I snore, we needed 2 bedrooms. And having studied the map in the catalogue, I'd chosen a gated lakeside area. Each caravan, park home really, had its own wooden deck. So not that cheap. We'd swapped rooms because of the doubles, poor light, and insecure window. So now you were in one of the twin beds, finding it uncomfortable. All night, the security gates kept clashing as they rose and fell like ignorant armies in the Matthew Arnold poem, Our Love.
Well read, well read. Are you walking these very streets as you're reading it?
Yeah, I know exactly where the caravan park is too, by the lake.
Oh, that's so fantastic. So
And
it
my
meant
dad
even
is
more.
spending the kids' inheritance. That's a really British joke about spending your kids' inheritance.
That's so funny. Well, so let's talk a little bit about the narrative point of view. And when it starts off, there's a really strong feeling that we could be looking at that fourth person narrative point of view, right? Because it's we. And then, wait, is it second? There's you, right? So I thought this was such a perfect example to talk about why it ends up being first person. Does anyone want to make an argument for that? Is there anybody who wants to step in and say, I see why this is first person?
I can see why it's first person.
Okay,
It's all
why?
from it's one person's
Yeah.
story.
Yes, exactly. So when the
mhm.
we shows up, the I in the third paragraph is talking about themselves with another person, right?
Yeah. But if
And
but
when,
if
go ahead.
I was just gonna ask a question, but if it's in fourth person, if it's in we, the whole story is from a collect. It's a group talking the whole time.
Yeah, it would have been we
No
the whole
I.
time.
There's no I referring back to a group. Like it'd be like me saying we went out to dinner and I had the shrimp. That's like
Exactly. Yeah.
okay, sorry.
Yep. And so that's just the plural first person when the we is showing up there. And it's because one person is telling about their experience with another person. And who is this person addressing?
Their
His
travel partner.
wife, his
Yeah, it's a
wife.
travel partner. I mean, it does sort of, I want to make the assumption that the narrator's male because they snore, but who knows, right?
Yeah,
Anybody
right.
could, yeah,
I, yeah, I think that that's a really bad assumption since
I snore.
it's a
So,
bad. I snore. It's like, yeah, I'm stressing about going to the retreat because I have to share a room and like, oh my God. But anyway,
yeah, I'm down with a group this time, down with the other staff. And I'm like, happy as a clam to be with y'all. You're so much fun. And I snore. So, sorry in advance. Yeah,
Just take
so
wax earplugs for everybody as their
exactly.
welcome gift. Here you go.
I'll get you the fancy wax kind. So this first person narrator, when the you shows up, of course it's not second person. You is not us as the readers. You is somebody, this travel partner. The you is the other person in the we, right?
Yeah.
So this one was fun because the narrative point of view actually was pretty clearly first person, but the pronouns are all over the place, and it gave us a chance to explore why it settles into first person. So
Are the bullet points there for a reason?
I broke it up to make it more readable by paragraph that way. If
Oh,
I
okay.
if I did indented paragraphs, it flew off the page, and I was trying to put it on the page.
I just didn't know if that was part of the formatting that the author had. I didn't know if that
No,
was.
that was a great question. I should have, yeah. Those are my bullet points. Bullet points added by me.
There's all different kinds of cool structure we were talking about as we moved. So I didn't know if this was something purposeful. So
No, but now you gave me such a great idea to do a bullet point,
like a PowerPoint
class.
slide.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, definitely when we get to Hermit Crab, we have to try that out, right? Yeah. Anything else we want to say about how much we love this piece? I mean, it's super cool. So what, plot-wise, what happens in general? What is this about on the basic narrative? Something happened. Not the meaning of the big piece, but just what happened.
Well, it sounds like they had a shit holiday, frankly.
Yeah, it sounds like there was a shitness to the holiday. Yes, for both of them.
The last paragraph there, the security gates clashing, that would have driven me bonkers.
Yeah, yeah. Is it more, I was gonna say more bad, so I'm clearly a doctor in English. Is it worse for one of them than another?
Yeah, the other one is miserable,
Yeah,
Yeah. Not happy wherever they go.
which makes me
exactly.
think that's the man.
Yeah.
So the snorer is the woman and the man is the grumpy old goat.
Or it
That's my theory.
could be two men. We don't know, right?
Could be anything.
Yeah,
We're talking about Burnham-on-Sea, so probably not.
right, right. So then how about relatability? Is that relatable to have an uneven positivity in a partnership?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know for sure, but one of the ways that I read this is that the insider wisdom from it is like, oh, other people have these experiences too. And at the same time, the setting and the sensory details, especially, this simile that the security gates are like the ignorant armies in the Matthew Arnold poem. It made me want to go look up the poem, right? Such a great simile. So the setting is helping us have this experience, and you know, only among us can Merrick really know, but to me, who hasn't been to this location, it's got a lot of attraction to me. It seems like a really great place to go holiday a bit because it seems strange to me. It's got an exoticism to it because I don't know the Penniless Porch or the Cathedral Green, right? And for this one character, it's not great. Is it a good place to go, Mary?
Wells, yeah, it's got the oldest continually habitated street in Europe.
Wow. See?
Mhm.
And so there's something to be gained about that kind of setting and then these kinds of characters and what it does for us ultimately in meaning, right? Awesome. Okay, so that was first.
I just disagree about like they're having a terrible time. I mean, this is like a style people talk in, you know, like this kind of sarcasm is it doesn't necessarily mean they had a bad time.
Oh, I love that perspective, Elizabeth, because as soon as you said that, I thought, think about all those couples who also describe each other this way, right? And it
Mm.
doesn't mean they don't like each other, and it doesn't mean they're not having a good time in theory, right?
Well, I
It's like,
read it as British understatement.
oh, nice.
So British have a way of speaking, so things are understated. Um, so I read it from a British perspective, and so I'm like, yeah, they are not having much fun. They're pretending they are. They're pretending it's sunny, they're
Well,
paddling in freezing cold water.
well, grumpy is a style, you know.
Yeah, and I love,
There are a lot of like that movie Grumpy Old Men, you know. It's like kind of a style, you know. It's like I don't know. I just want to throw that in. Everybody had assumed that it
Yeah.
meant they just had a terrible time, but they could have gone home and told their kids it was wonderful.
absolutely. And I actually think it's fantastic that it's possible to read it both ways. If you agree with me, but I think it really is. And that's my favorite part. We can't control how a reader responds to what we wrote, right?
Mm.
Yeah. Great additional perspective. Love that conversation. So in the second person, and we're going to write on this next one, uh, we have these Crossroad Diner Blues. Is anybody interested in reading this one? Oh, for goodness sakes.
I'll read it.
Thanks. I love that.
Did you pick me?
Yes, yeah, it's
Oh,
Linda, right? Yeah.
okay.
Please,
Yeah.
Linda English,
Okay.
please read. Yeah, thank you.
Crossroads Diner Blues by Mina Chunk. Sometimes the want is so bad you think you can trick the devil. You know you gotta step right up, bold as soda glass, run your finger across that pearled glint of devil teeth. Gotta be quick before devil takes a bite. Blues man on the record player, he makes it sound easy. Smooth like honey and whiskey, like old Scratch himself is holed up there at the crossroads, waiting just for you, saying that's right, sweet girl. Devil just dying for a taste of your particular itch. But you know it ain't that easy. Might lose more than a finger, and you ain't quick enough. Lying blues man still picking that guitar with all 10 of his fingers. Still on a fevered Kansas night when the air hugs close and the men are working late to bring in the wheat, and the other night shift waitress is swaying her hips to contraband music in the back room. That's the kind of night you don't care if it's easy. The kind of night you're willing to go toe to toe with a man or a husband or a devil. The kind of night you might curl like tobacco smoke, etch yourself into the grooves of a record that can be played somewhere else, anywhere else. You know there's a catch. Every deal has one. And devil grinning soul or ride, darling, your choice, but maybe your particular trick is you don't mind that hitchhiking devil riding shotgun when you sway with that pretty little waitress in the back room. Maybe you want a lick of devil song, smoke soft in your whisper. You're coming with me, ain't you, sweet girl? You know you gotta be quick when you're toe to toe at the crossroads. You gotta be bolder than glass. Wow.
Right?
Holy mackerel.
I mean, how else can you respond at the end of this piece?
Mhm.
Yay, yay. Woo.
It's
Can we just
sexy.
talk? Yeah, can we just talk about the wow? Like why it's so wow? Lisa, you just said it was sexy, right?
It's sexy.
Yeah.
Well, it's beautifully written. It's really well written. It's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
poetry. It's every word is very, there's not a word in there that doesn't, you know, there's no space, it's just very, very, every word works.
And
Yeah.
it has a rhythm to it, right?
Mhm. I was gonna say it
Mhm.
sounds like a blues song. Like can hear you can hear that like old school jazz blues just coming out of the piece. It's very, very cool.
Yes, definitely. She's mimicking that actual experience. I mean, her piece is the lying blues man still picking that guitar, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Mm.
So incredible.
Yeah. The imagery is just phenomenal, you know. Ooh.
The kind of night you might curl like tobacco smoke, etch yourself into the grooves of a record that can be played somewhere else, anywhere else.
Mm.
Oh,
Hmm.
yeah, she's Mina Ching. If you Google her, her work is just out of this world, right?
Mm.
How did you feel being made this character?
Mm.
Uncomfortable.
Yeah, okay. What made you uncomfortable, Sita?
Well, I mean, the title and that thinking that you have to make a choice, and the
Mhm.
choice is to go with somebody you don't necessarily want to go with. I don't. That's kind of what I got out of it. Maybe
Mhm.
I'm wrong.
And yet it's sexy, right? So there's this weird
Yeah.
draw to make a
Yeah.
decision you know is bad, right? So that is uncomfortable. I would agree with
Yeah.
that.
I felt quite excited by the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
Especially because you were reading it aloud.
I'm sort of dating someone like this. So
Ooh, very nice. Did you and Linda, you were reading, but did any of you, and Linda too with English, did you almost find yourself like starting to sway your hips into it, even though you're sitting in a chair? Yeah.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
and we're being forced to consider this decision because we are the person we're being asked to inhabit this viewpoint. We're being asked to be this character across
Yeah.
these words. And this isn't who I am, but it sounds kind of sexy, right? For me anyway. Yeah.
And
Any
I think it's much more powerful being in second person versus if you were to try and do this in first person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I
In
mean,
fact, so I mean, if you were trying to do it in first person, you would say, sometimes the want is so bad, I think I can trick the devil. And you're like, oh, girl, wake up, right? But
yeah.
another way that this one might work is to say, sometimes the want is so bad, we think we can trick the devil. We know we got to step
Hmm.
right up, right? So that collective might work here. And I feel like
Mhm.
the second person and the fourth person collective are related to each other in the experience they give a reader when you're reading them.
Mhm.
Okay, so is there anything else about POV on this one or anything else we want to discuss before I throw you into the first prompt? Before I run my finger across the pearled glint of devil teeth and make you right.
Uh-oh.
Like step out there and make a deal with the devil, huh?
You're
Yeah.
coming with me, ain't you, sweet girl?
All right.
Y'all are coming with me, aren't you, sweet ladies? Because we are going to go to the prompt slide then.
Mm.
Okay, so I want us to practice this first person point of view. And I do think this whole idea about temptation, desire, lust, maybe even greed, these are ones that are great to write in the second person because they do, all of us have faced those kinds of experiences, whether or not we've acted on them. And that allows you to write about avarice in a way that people get to try on those identities too without having to run their fingers across the devil teeth. So
What are aberruses? What are examples besides these? Are there more examples of aberrus?
there are. Do I think on my feet very well? No. Can somebody help me think of other avarices? They're like sins. But they could be
Yeah.
like gambling can be an avarice if you have an addiction. So various addictions could be avarices. What else?
Think of the seven
Sloth.
deadly sins. I can't even like cover like yeah, the like wanting somebody else's something, killing somebody, um,
Coveting somebody else's stuff, being greedy.
yeah, reads in there. So working against somebody, lying, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, what are this? I can't remember what the but yeah,
I mean,
to your point, think of a sin, think of something you get in trouble in school in, or that's like think of religious things that stop you in religion.
mhm.
Am I right? I'm
It,
sorry. Gambling.
avarices,
Good.
no, you're great. Avarices are like immoral behavior, right? Is that a good way to?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that was a great question. So, and when you're the fun I hope you'll have with this, I hope what you can enjoy in a kind of humorous way is to get really creative because you're forcing those of us you're about to read it to take this place. So, make us do something we don't want to do or whatever. Have some fun with it for sure. And just as a reminder, setting, sensory detail, and specificity always make these things pop. So even as you're using that second person pronoun, you, be thinking about the ways that you can. I mean, look at what Mina Chang did with, setting us in this diner and there's the back room, there's the contraband music. What even is contra? It certainly gave us a sense of time period as well to have that in there.
So
So
this has
whatever
to
you,
be in this, sorry,
go ahead.
it has to be in the second person.
I mean, I'd like you to try. And
Okay,
obviously,
so could you give an ex show read something from that? Is that all in the second person, what we just read?
yes. When I bring examples to class, they're always going to be in a consistent point of view. So they won't change point of view in them.
Okay, got it. Because this it almost sounds like it's in the first person to me, but I guess she's speaking to others like you want to.
Yeah, so
But
what she's doing by having this be you is literally saying, reader, here. Reader, you are having this experience. And so it's very similar to first person, but instead of experiencing her sort of talking about what's inside her head, when she uses the second person, we are inhabiting that space. We are along with them. We are the character in the story. But of course, we have to be told, what's happening because we aren't really the character in the story. But the intention is to make it feel like you are having this experience.
Mm.
And again, if you get stuck, just write something. The most
Okay.
important thing in this class is that writing happens when we do these exercises. So, if you is not rolling off your tongue right now, go ahead and just write whatever does come, because that is the most important thing is to engage our brains and write. Okay, so think about avarice, think about all these things, and I will set the clock. And I can't wait to find out what I'm going to be forced into when you come back. Okay, good luck. You have about a minute left. Okay, time is up. I'm really eager to hear how it went. I see some smiles. I see some less than smiles. Uh, did anybody slide right into it? Did anybody struggle? How did it go?
It was
Thumbs up
easier
or...
than I thought.
Oh, good. Good. Great. Oh, and some of you who Elizabeth's talking, I knew when you guys were writing, so just have to ask you to unmute. There you go.
Oh, I didn't expect the emotion I was expressing.
Oh, interesting. Oh, I can't wait to hear.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, and as always, you don't have to go if you are not wanting to read, but I would love to hear if anybody would like to read. Okay, Linda, let's
Sorry.
go. Linda first and then Lisa. That's the
Okay.
order of the hands I saw.
Sometimes you want to share the herring with the families who haven't had much luck catching any. Perhaps you had not thought about the cold and long and cruel winter months that lay ahead. Laziness is the consequence of not planning one's future. Being careless about stocking food meant hardship for not just you, but also for your family. Come along to the homes where the children are crying and rocking in place as they hold up their hands for just one piece of dried fish.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That felt
Nice.
a little like a call to action. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
As a reader, when you have to inhabit that space, you feel like you have to do something. Other thoughts? I typed one thing in the chat.
It seems very relevant right now too, Linda, with current events.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
also, yeah, like there's a little bit
Um,
of planning and sharing, and and going through like a rough patch without, and how the yeah, it kind of has a prepper kind of feeling to it, but not in that kind of way. It feels like someone talking to somebody. Is this part of your bigger story? Um,
yeah,
so
it's a
it
part
feels
of the it's a part of the science fiction, how
it
to
feels
burn down an igloo.
okay. So it feels like you're there, like you're talking about, you're telling, not instructional, like in a way of like, this sounded like I was reading it, but it sounds like you're like a character or somebody's instructing somebody, like giving them advice or wisdom. Does that make?
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
Yeah.
very much so.
Sorry, I'll be quiet. I'm not organizing my thoughts right now. They're just like flying around like just
I
like,
felt I felt like you said something meaningful.
just like, oh, dementia is happening. Just like,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm cornering that market today, so I'm sorry, it's not your turn.
Mm.
Other thoughts for Linda?
There was also a little bit of a cynicism in it, like almost as if you got what you deserved.
Yeah.
You know, like you should have planned better. Like that kind of like, I don't know, also
Mhm.
kind of relevant to current events kind of feeling in the world that just
Mhm.
like,
Yeah,
well, if you'd have done this, you may not be in this shoe. It's like, well,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Mm.
Great observation. And you saying that and then thinking about Linda's writing, I do want to remind everybody that you don't have to put exactly in the canvas what you wrote. You're always welcome to expand or to, as long as you
Mhm.
try to hold it to about 250 words per prompt or so, just so it's not burdensome reading for everybody. But if you're typing it in and something great happens in your head, do it. You're not bound to what did in the flash 6 minutes here, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Linda, thank you. That was well done. It's really thought-provoking. Amazing.
Thank you.
6 minutes. Who wants to follow Linda? Oh, Lisa does. Okay.
All right. He is sound asleep. You look at the man lying next to you, so deep in sleep the Lord himself couldn't wake him up. Good thing, 'cause you're a demon wrapped in clothing that you haven't earned, that you could never afford. You slowly peel away the thick covers and slide out of bed, your feet hit your feet searching for your slippers. More quiet than snowfall, you creep from the room, the fire casting your shadow on the wall like the phantoms from your worst childhood nightmares. You grab a candlestick from the table and silently exit the room. His office is down the hall, and you pray that it isn't locked.
Scared.
Mm.
Well done, Lisa. What do we think, everybody?
There's an
I want to
element.
know what you're doing with that candlestick. You're gonna burn down his office or burn? I thought you were gonna go after him, but then I thought maybe you're gonna burn his office or something. Because
Mhm.
I was thinking, is this what's the aberrus here? Yeah, very mysterious, haunting.
Do you write horror? No, because
It's
there's like,
such an element of horror.
right? I feel like someone's getting bludgeoned. There feels like
Yeah, yeah. There's
uh,
No, I think you
something's
guys
gonna
want me.
happen.
I think you guys want me to write horror because the last piece I posted on Canvas, everyone's like, "Oh, is she demon possessed?" I was like, no, but I guess she could be."
Maybe start writing
My
some
brain
horror
had not
then.
gone there, but apparently more than one person was like, "Ooh, is she possessed?" I was like,
I feel like we need a modern take of The Exorcist, and it involves candlestick bludgeoning, after when the demon can't get, and there's no more holy water and all you got is the candles that are on like the altar, you just
Mhm.
bludgeoning. I don't know. I feel like I don't anytime you say candlestick, I'm of the Clue
"Oh,
character.
so you think Clue?"
Clue, and I'm like, it's a murder weapon. Like it's a
Professor Plum in the library with a candlestick.
Yeah.
Right.
So but
Uh,
the wording, didn't it feel like you're walking in a hallway and like everything's kind of
yeah.
closed in, it's dark, and there's a demon present, and I don't know. Maybe I didn't listen close enough. I'm sorry.
And it,
No.
and it's cold and yeah, I mean it's a stark piece. And then she's moving these such lovely similes, more quiet than snowfall, and her shadows like the
Mm.
phantoms from your worst childhood nightmares. If you didn't intend that symbolism to have us practically be in The Shining, then I don't know what happened.
But
You
but is she
throw a hedge
having
maze in there and we're set.
Lisa, is she having some kind of illicit affair though with with this person or
No,
that I
no,
mean
no, that's her husband.
oh okay. Oh
That's her
okay.
husband.
I was under the impression that he was the avaricious one and that she was trying to figure out an escape. Is this not true? Oh,
Hmm.
geez. Okay.
Nope.
Was he
I
this?
feel like
I thought getting to him was going to be getting to safety, but no, that's not it either.
She's she's
Uh-oh.
trying to get some information from him.
With the bludgeoning, with the
Well, with the candlestick. Yes, with the candlestick. Answer the question. No, she's a spy.
she's a
And
spy.
she's a
did she
spy.
only marry him for the information?
Correct.
Oh,
I
oh.
love
Oh.
that. I love that. Yeah.
And the
Correct.
big question, is that avarice? You know,
Yeah,
I
because it's a
love it.
lie.
It's a
Yeah.
lie, but it's also her job.
Yeah.
Oh, oh, so many moral ambiguities. It's really great.
I'm glad you told us though, because I was really curious as to like what was
Yeah.
behind the door and
Yeah,
like
yeah. She's a spy, so she's trying to get some intel for
okay.
her bosses.
So, I mean,
Something you're
awesome
already
writing.
working on.
Yes. Hmm.
And so very awesome writing for something larger, which is what I was going to bring up, Merrick, but also with a couple of brushstrokes, I think you could have a spy in a micro length thing too. It's almost a complete story that we have to finish as readers. We have to decide what happens when she gets in the door.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
We're real curious, so that you're like 90% of the way there, right? Like we're like it's
Right.
got that momentum, right? It's like, yeah.
Absolutely. No.
Thank you.
Great job. Who wants to go next?
I mean,
Okay, Elizabeth, thank you. Elizabeth
okay.
Converse. Forgot we now have double named people.
Oh, do we have another? Oh, yeah, we have two Elizabeths.
Mhm.
But you spell yours with an S, right?
Mhm.
Okay, well, here you go. I don't know if I can read all of this because it's kind of hard to read. Brushing you, the lights are dim, the green of the leaves brushing through. The white tablecloth shines in the candlelight. You just want to take the tablecloth. No, you want to just take the glass of red pearly wine and throw it in her face, and his face too. That smug snarl eating your heart out, that brazen cruelty, that unconscionable, unreasonable, sickening you, denying you, hurting you. You feel it in your gut as he takes the forkful of red, juicy meat, shoving it in his mouth and whisking the glass of red wine and tossing his head as he throws the glassful down. As she laughs, so loud people are turning, laughing, both of them at you. How much hatred you want to deny, how much you want to stab the steak knife you hold into his cheek and rip it across his face, just to see that look of horror on her face.
Oh.
Whoa.
Wow, Elizabeth, I don't ever want to piss you off.
Well, you said avarice.
Too true. Oh my God.
That had avarice. Well done.
Wow.
I feel like this is a response to Lisa's. Like this is the husband finding out Lisa tried to
Ah, yeah.
You know,
queen at the
I was just gonna say this is the character's thoughts from my first one where she's dancing in the ballroom. I was
Oh,
like,
nice.
not my character, Lynn.
Well, you see, we're influencing one
We're
another.
influencing.
Yeah.
It really does happen, actually.
That's funny.
Ah, what are some things we loved?
the figurative language. All the I know you grabbed all the good lines, Max.
Hmm.
I tried. Yeah.
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 The cheek stabbing. It kind of made his face feel like meat, like you're a butcher and you're just going at it like dead animal kind of feeling.
Yeah, it really made me feel the revulsion.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And that's what I was going to say too. It was kind of a surprise because you think she's going to stab him in the chest, but it's in the cheek. And yeah, it's like, oh, yeah.
And kind of worse because she's not killing him. She's defacing him and horrifying the
Yeah.
cheating woman with him. Or, yeah.
That's really all you can get with a fork with like tableware. You got to go for the smushy parts. So I mean, it makes it believable.
Bless you.
Like,
From experience,
I was
you
gonna
know
say
this
from
from
personal
experience.
experience.
oh, your experience. I'm just saying, like there's bone and stuff here. Like that's not gonna go with a fork. Like that's
The
Yeah.
red, juicy meat, shoving it in his mouth. I mean, I just always think of that scene from Rosemary's Baby when she can't wait to eat the meat
the
she's frying.
meat.
And
Yeah.
it has that
Mm.
same just avaricious feeling, like, you're probably going to go worship the devil in a second, just like she did, right? Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
well, it's like the feeling came from hurting the hurt, the hurt, and then taking it to like instead of like transforming it into compassion or understanding, just letting it turn into how you would actually, like
Yeah.
do something avaricious, you
Yeah.
know.
You let it go. I mean, you just said, where would this go then? And that's pretty incredible. And this whole sentence with the unconscionable, unreasonable, that whole list, oh, I loved it. And you really minimized how much second person was present in it. It was a second person piece, absolutely, but there was so much other like great description happening. I think that worked out really well. You know,
Thank
you
you.
did you did the assignment and you did it with subtlety.
Bravo.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, good job. That was fun. Who
It
wants to go
made
next?
me really want to tell the real story, which is obviously a big story because you wouldn't get to that point unless there was a whole story behind it, but I like
Yeah,
that.
I mean, I think
I
you
mean, I
could.
like the fact that you have to do it like you just have to get to the nut of, what it all comes down to.
Yeah, that's what happens in this very compressed writing, right? And
Hmm.
then, yes, you can expand it out and you can have an entire novel that ends up in this place, right? Or you can brushstroke a few things and try it out because all of the implication that's happening, we know the background. Somebody cheated on somebody, they're mocking the person that got left behind, and she's witnessing it. Wow, that's horrible. And if it's not cheating like romance, it could be that they duped her, there's all kinds of possibilities. And we don't even have to know. It's that feeling that she had or that you had, right? That we as the readers were having that makes us want to stab him through the cheek, rip it right across. I'm
I've
so
never
delighted when
done
this
that.
happens.
I promise I've never done that.
I want to believe you. No, I definitely believe you. I've met you. Who wants
Little
to
disclaimer.
follow?
I go.
Okay,
Or
Sita. Yeah.
um, I'm sorry. I saw Merrick raise their hand too, so I wasn't.
Oh,
No, I'm flopping around. I'm not focusing well today. So go ahead.
All right, we'll see what happens. If you hadn't committed to bullying the bullies, you'd still be stuck in that claustrophobic house where you'd left your mom and the bad memories behind. Life required litigating everything from the truth to this talking head in your laptop, his face darkened by the white afternoon sun. You haven't seen the big yellow sun in weeks, months maybe. It's 1 p.m. in Bangalore, but here it's just past midnight. Turn on your camera, his voice saccharine and low. You say it's broken. Um, oh, I can't even read after this. You say it's broken. He'll have to deal with it. He'll have to be dealt with, like you dealt with the others, like you dealt with your father, and like you'll deal with him and see the sun again. God, I can't read my own handwriting. So far.
Mm.
wow. Just the word avarice got us so dark. That was great, Sita. What are some of the things we loved about it, everybody?
I
Do we?
got kind of messed up with my reading. I'm sorry.
I
No.
love the imagery of the sun and time. It's here, Bangalore. It's the big yellow sun. It's just the whole distance, time, sun. It's very imagistic and really creates a setting.
Your
Absolutely.
first line about if you hadn't stood up to the bullying bullies, or I can't remember the exact wording, but that really like told the reader who we were. Like this person that had to put up with something and then said, no more, no more, we're done. So that
I,
was
Yeah.
I really liked that a lot.
I agree. That's a very powerful first sentence.
I
Yeah,
do
I was
too.
there's a big debate about me that I'm debating rewriting my first novel as science fiction because it's not the topic's not marketable as commercial fiction. So I played with my first line of that book and then putting it in the just to see what it would feel like to try to think about
Oh,
that.
Hmm.
nice.
Um, because
It is a
that's
great first line.
It was a good one.
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm just sort of thinking about it. It'd be a big project, but it'd be kind of fun to rewrite a book in a different genre. I just thought that that's
Mhm.
a little easier than writing a whole new book. So
Yeah.
Maybe.
maybe, or just at least there's like some goalpost there.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so, yeah. So I'm really
That'd
interested
be
listening to what Linda's writing about too, because it's kind of like creating that new that all God, I can't even think of words, but creating the environment, the setting, like creating a whole new place.
mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, it's really lovely. And there was again that just dark, horrible feeling about being dealt with as the others were, as the father was, and by doing so, she could see the son again. There's just, or the you, like we would see the son again, and this, what does that mean? Is she caged somewhere? What are they real bars or figurative bars? It's a lot. And I agree. I love when we have these time differences to bring in celestial bodies too, because it's always that
Yeah.
reminder that the sun we're looking at is the sun they will be looking at, or we have the same moon. And it's both a connection and a delineator because maybe one has it and another one doesn't, right? Like
Yeah.
this of the night.
That was a really good skill piece. The different time. It made me, I'm going to borrow it because, my story's in Alaska, but there's a lot going on in Connecticut. So
Oh,
Yeah, so if
what is that?
there's a
Like a
different, yeah.
yeah,
4 or 5 hour difference? Yeah.
yeah, that's quite helpful. So thank you.
And it was really useful to use big yellow sun instead of, the fiery orb that whatever. That simplistic way to describe it was effective because it wasn't about figurative language in that moment. It was about this other greater insight that you're creating, right?
Mm,
Mhm.
Yeah, really nicely done.
mm,
You
mm.
promised a beard, but you gave us a goatee.
This one will be fun to rewrite in Canvas. It'll be fun to kind of see when I can read my own writing because it's real hard to. I think doesn't everybody's writing get a little looser towards the end and it's just lines and it's just like, you're like, what is this? It's just
Like the
Mm.
1 minute left is helpful, but also it flattens out all the loops. That's really great. Well, thank you. Good job. And who would like to go next?
I
We
can
have
go
three
next.
people. Thanks. Oh, and Merrick was thinking about it. So Elizabeth and then Merrick.
Sure.
Okay.
Mine's not as dark.
It's brilliant.
Your mom invited me over, I think to get you out from under her skin. She opened up her toy chest and we worked our way through it. Barbies, chutes and ladders, missing some of both, then paging through the old coloring books, looking for blank space, peeling the paper down so we could use the leftover nubs. You found a bunch of Legos and soldiers left by your brother in the bottom. I wanted to reenact a battle. You wanted to build a neighborhood, although we abandoned both when you said there were treats on the top shelf above the refrigerator. You pulled out the chair I needed to climb up on the counter and pointed to the hidden jar of candy. Then you disappeared. Chair moved away, so I couldn't climb down. Where did you go? Your dad walked in, finding this child not his own, standing on his counter. Where did you go? You are nowhere near this scene of crime.
Wow, that's terrific.
Yeah, that's really magic. Did something like that actually happen, or did you just come up with that?
Yes. That is a childhood story that I have that I have used today.
Wow.
That's
Well,
incredible.
kind of. I remember getting in trouble. I don't remember the circumstances of the rest of the day, but I remember getting caught by a friend's dad getting snacks.
And did he
Oh,
ever fess up? Like, did the friend go, "Oh, I heard him coming and I ran"?
Yeah, I don't remember. I just remember getting caught and for some reason that popped into my head and I decided to make that the story tonight.
You're not very avaricious, are you?
Hoarding
Ooh.
cookies. Wanting to hoard the cookies or the treats. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
No.
avarice, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it was just gentle. She didn't stab a steak knife through somebody's cheek and rip it open.
Or bludgeon anyone with a candlestick.
Exactly. Exactly.
Forbidden treats. She used you,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because if that character had to climb up, they were the one who was going to get in trouble. So, definitely a great flash. Did the second person point of view happen in it? No, but that's okay. What point of view did it end up being?
I used lots of you. I was trying
I
my
know. I know you did. You tried really hard. It was great. But it ended up being in what point of view?
First,
Third
Yeah,
person.
first person.
Oh, first
Yeah.
person.
Yeah, because that I was the person telling the story.
Where did you
And
go?
Oh,
so,
yeah.
yeah. So if you were going to take the story and put it into the second person, it'd be something like you go to your friend's house and pull out the toys from the toy chest. You discover that this is missing or whatever. She pushes the chair to the counter and you clamber up to the snack, only to turn and find that the chair is gone. You see her father and realize, where did she go? Where did she go? Where did she go? And then we are the person that has that experience.
Mm-hmm.
And you had lots of good views in there anyway. It was like the one that we read, the first one, where it said we went here, we went there, you didn't like this, but it was like that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
but it
But it
works in the current format, though. It works as a story.
exactly, that's what I was going to say,
Oh,
is it's a great story. I mean, I would not abandon it in the least, because no, I mean, one, all that matters is that writing happened. And two, you wrote a really good short narrative that I think you'll see with the writings that we read throughout this class. That kind of childhood memory also works really well in the second person and the fourth person, because it's so relatable to all of us. We've all been duped by friends. We've all gotten in trouble, I think, with somebody else's parents, and it's worse than with your own because you know
Oh,
better.
yeah.
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 And there's that feeling, caught on the counter, no way to do anything different. Anything else we loved about Elizabeth's story?
I like the fact
Well,
that the toy chest is like the center of, corruption here. Very relatable. So,
And could it feel like having that cool detail about missing parts? Of course, whose gain is complete when you have small children, but the missing parts could almost be symbolic, right? For what happens next.
Mhm.
Yeah,
yeah.
really nice.
I think um, the fact you pointed it out already, Maxie, but the fact that you got caught by somebody else's parents, is kind of is always kind of unforgettable. I mean, you forget all the stuff you did with your parents, but when you get caught by somebody else's parents, it's
Mhm.
it's kind of like
Yeah.
it's worse. You feel the shame much longer, or I certainly did.
Yes.
Mhm.
I know I have memories where I still feel a little embarrassed, and I'm 56 years old, but I knew better. Yeah, so very really. Well, really great.
Yes.
Thank
Thank
And
you.
I have skipped Merrick like twice now. So would you like to go now, Merrick?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, this is based on something I already had, which I changed, just so you know. You'll recognize it.
Okay.
Half empty rum bottles, whiskey bottles, and porn mags, and dark wooden barrel. And what the actual fuck you think? Can it be real? Cold and heavy, you decide it is. So you unscrew the whiskey, take a hefty slug, and lick your lips, because you're done with his hoarding, guzzling himself, hiding porn mags and guns. Is it loaded? You bark into the phone, giggling over the sound of foreigners announcing flights. Moscow, his flying schedule says. Far, far away. Of course it's loaded, he says. And you picture the sneer, take a swig, force a burp. And you chose to marry it, so now you have to put up with it. Maybe once upon a time, but not anymore. So you snatch up the whiskey, the gun, grab your phone, step onto the driveway, take aim and fire, explode his left mirror into a twinkling firework. Uh-oh, it died, you yell, laughing and laughing, not caring if neighbors think you're a drunk. In Moscow, he growls, says, Jesus, are you drinking? And you tell him not to worry because Jesus was a drinker, turned his own blood into wine, and you lift your arm, take another aim, and shoot out his other mirror too.
Wow.
That's great. Yeah, perfect. Very perfect.
This is the Merrick voice.
Perfectly formed, like kind of like just
Mhm.
did its, opened, expanded, pulled together, and bang, out, in
Yeah.
and out, very nice.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How did we feel being this person?
Oh, powerful.
Drunk, I hope.
Drunk. I feel drunk.
Yeah, but
Did any,
powerful. Powerfully drunk.
what, Avalinda?
Uninhibited.
Powerful.
Oh,
Powerfully
uninhibited.
drunk.
Yeah, and powerful
Yeah.
leader. Did anybody else have this moment of how is she able to hit a little mirror when she's drunk? Like,
Yeah.
how is she able to aim so well? I also she doesn't care that the neighbors think she's a drunk, or that we are, I mean, I guess because it's us, because it's in second person, but also I was like, oh, thank goodness the neighbors didn't get shot. I mean, a bullet is a bullet is a bullet if it misses its target.
Maybe
Mm.
it's bird shot.
You what?
Well, I
Maybe
have
bird
to say that I'm sorry, I spoke over somebody. Well, I have to say, I think there's a bit of powerlessness in that too, because she's angry partly because she doesn't have control over the situation and this other person. Is that correct? Or
Oh yeah.
so it's powerfulness and powerlessness at the same time.
There was a line in there,
Mm.
Merrick. He says you chose to marry it, and I believe that the narrator has us, we say, you say we'll see, or something like that. What is it that you said right there?
He actually said this to me. He said, you chose to marry it, so now you have to put up with it.
And then the next line is something like, yeah, maybe, or something,
Maybe
right?
once upon a time, but not anymore.
There we go. And that transition is what I thought is when we went from powerlessness to maybe I can be powerful, right? Maybe I can do
Mm.
something about this. And that's part of why I think we walk away from the piece saying messed up, but not taking it anymore. Yeah.
Mm.
The lines about you have these verbs snatch, grab, step, aim, right? Just she goes we go into action. We go out and shoot the mirror out of his truck. And then did I put this in here? The line about Jesus was a drinker.
I love
That
that.
I loved getting to be the person that could be that clever. I love that being second person because I would never think of that line, not fast enough to have said any of that. And so you let me be a cool girl for a moment, and it was great. A drunk cool girl, but still a cool girl. Anything else we love?
Mm.
Everything. That was great. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
And I think doing what you did when you said we'd recognize parts of it, but you put it in a different POV, there's no problem with that. You're just exploring the similar idea and finding out how it comes out when you do it in second person. It's
Yeah,
great.
the getting us out to her driveway and then having that's a fun twist because I think in the last one we get sort of stuck with we get not stuck, but we're in planning mode to leave the house and where to go. This one in this version we were actually on the drive. It's a little more propelling forward, like we're farther in the story, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've been playing
And
around
we're
more with
reading words.
movement. I've been reading about having a lot of movement in your flash.
mhm.
in any kind of writing to, make sure there's movement. So I've been trying to do that a bit more.
And it
Mm.
worked marvelously. And the last time, I think there was movement because I think that the character went and picked the kids up from school and had to explain, I think.
There was one, there was
Yeah,
movement, but it was a stiller movement.
yes.
So
This is the
I,
kind of movement that makes splashes.
yeah, this one I just wanted to, I don't know, be more obnoxious, I guess.
But it works. It really works. I don't think it's obnoxious, but it was like, how can I, when Leanne says in her 12-week novel writing class, how can I put my character under more pressure, make it get crazier, make it get harder? That's what we seem to be doing tonight, and I love it. It's working really well. Y'all are awesome.
Good.
Yay. All right, Havilinda, are you gonna go?
Yeah, I can do it. I think my connection is kind of, sometimes I'm having trouble catching everything that's being read, and I hope you can hear me.
No problem with
Yep.
you.
Okay, because yeah, if I look like a deer in the headlights over here, that's part of the reason why. I'm like,
Oh no.
what? Oh,
Well, the
candles.
recording will be smooth. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The first time you broke, it caught you by surprise, leaning and longing, the hard arm of the couch against the back of your head, almost painful. But you don't move. You just wait. Like when he reaches around, hot warmth of his vanilla breath on your neck and deftly flicks the hooks on your bra open, and your breasts feel the small cups fall away, freeing something, but not you. You hold your breath, knowing his parents will be home from bowling at 11:30, hearing the television across the room and the cat down the hall scratching in the litter pan, until he lowers his head down to your navel and pulls open your legs, tonguing you to a pulse of life you never knew existed.
Wow.
I see.
Well done.
Awesome.
Wow.
I mean, we've all been there, right?
Not for a long time.
And did
Oh
we all
God,
find
I love
Havilinda's
it.
piece relatable?
Oh Lord.
What people do you
That's not you. That's not YA.
Ah, oh my God.
It's not YA, right? I mean, is it? I don't know. I'm asking a question.
No,
I was
no.
saying
The
is
No.
characters are young, but you would not be
yeah,
writing that for a YA audience.
you wouldn't publish that as a YA
No.
novel in a novel. Okay, I was just checking because
unless you were
I was
VC Andrews.
curious. What?
Unless you're VC Andrews, yes.
Unless you're
Okay.
who?
VC
So
Andrews.
Really?
That would
she wrote some pretty risque stuff, and it was young adult, and yeah, it had incest and all kinds of things in it.
Oh.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, and then she ended up being like a bad person. There was something to do with her daughter who was
He had a
maybe
daughter?
disabled, I think.
Oh,
I thought she was disabled. Like she couldn't walk.
Oh, maybe that's it.
Oh, I know
But
who you're
there's
talking about.
still
Maybe
something bad.
something
Maybe
bad.
it happened to her. Maybe she's not the bad one. But there's some bad thing beyond the fact that she had incest and stuff.
Yeah.
But let's go back to Linda's piece.
That was really fun watching you all giggle. That was really.
I wasn't ready for the ending. I was like, woohoo.
I wasn't either. I was so sure she was going to stop them because the parents are coming home.
Uh-huh.
But it seems like it was worth it not to stop them. I'm very curious
oh
if they
boy.
got caught.
Mm-hmm.
Look at her.
So some of the stuff that we exceptionally loved in this, like what helped build the tension for us?
The parent.
I
And I,
liked the cups falling away. I didn't, that image was very, after he undoes the bra and then the cups fall away, that was a very striking image to me.
and I thought that's where his mouth was headed, and then it kept going.
Yeah, yeah. I know it definitely went on the fast track quickly.
Hmm.
Yes,
Did
it's
you
so
look
quick.
at the clock at any point in that? I can't remember.
It
No.
was the
Oh, no,
sounds
no.
like the.
She
Go
said
ahead.
11. She knew the parents would be home at 11:30. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay, that was the time. Yeah, because the time um I can remember sneaking, like stuff like that, in a window of time, the time crushing in on you. Oh, they're going to get here. Oh, this is going to happen. You have to be fast, you know.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
definitely a relatable experience that way. This
And that
sounds like, go ahead, Sita.
I was just gonna make a joke and say, and that's where they get it from.
Yes.
It's just bad joke.
But it's interesting because she's so distracted, the character is, the one that we are, the one that we're inhabiting. And we all had a good night tonight, but the character is like, I hear the cat, I hear it, right? And
Hmm.
the second that it goes from the sounds to he kisses down her navel, our focus changes with hers. There aren't sounds, there aren't parents, there aren't anything. It's just this pulse of life you never knew existed, right? Yeah.
Good for
That's,
her.
yeah, good for her. And amazing in 6 minutes. It's almost a complete narrative arc, right? That's incredible. In fact, it has a resolution. And it has
Sure does.
Resolution.
and
It's a good resolution.
please forgive me for this one, but it has like
Oh my
rising action,
God.
a
Yeah.
climax,
Good.
and a resolution.
That's true.
Oh,
Yeah, nicely done. Really nicely done. Oh,
very good.
this is so much fun. The one thing I haven't done that I was supposed to be doing is offering breaks, but there's only a half an hour left. So if you need a break, please feel free to take one. And that should be
Mhm.
true all the way through this. If Heidi has to go out, just shut the camera off.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to push us back into our slides and move us forward with alacrity. I don't know how I can be getting ahead and then we only have a half hour left. Whatever. So the omniscient third person, we will
Mhm.
take a look real quick at The Blob Takes Manhattan. Is this something somebody wants to read or do you want me to read?
Do it.
I'm doing it? Okay. The Blob Takes Manhattan by Chelsea Stickle, Fractured Lit. Now that the Arctic isn't cold anymore, the blob is awake and tearing through malls like a post-breakup trust fund baby. After it drinks the oceans dry, the blob returns to North America. The 24-hour news cycle was made for this. On their websites, you can watch the feed from the helicopters shining a spotlight on its black side. In the corner of your favorite sitcom, there's the blob inhaling a Chinese restaurant in Vermont. On news panels, so-called experts speak in circles. Kids blame billionaires for destroying the environment and failing their fellow humans. Billionaires blame scientists who knew this was coming and didn't do anything to stop it. Scientists blame the governments who ignored their warnings and denied funding. Governments blame their citizens for their consumption cravings, for not recycling, for not riding the bus that doesn't come to their area, for not spending money they don't have on solar panels, for wanting to eat something other than canned beans. But no one ever asks the blob who it blames for its solitary existence on Earth. They see a monster and don't ask what's behind that flubby exterior. And since all the humans are so busy watching the blob and discussing the blob, they don't actually attempt to stop it. So the blob rolls alone, searching for another of its kind, one it can merge with and become whole. It consumes what it can to maintain its optimism, but rolling through skyscrapers in the city moonlight, it feels emptier than ever. Isn't that cool?
Hmm.
So I ask you then, what makes this an omniscient viewpoint? How can we tell that we're not third person limited? We're definitely not first person, right?
As you get the perspective of everyone,
Hmm.
billionaire scientists, governments, citizens, even the blob gets its own perspective at the
Yeah,
end.
and in fact, we get inside the blob's head because we know how the blob feels, which is really funny. The blob, right? Um, and so it is somebody sort of reporting the events to us. This omniscient narrator can be creative in the reporting for sure, but is somebody who's telling us a story that they are not partaking in of themselves so much as giving us the story. We could be around a campfire and they tell us the story of the blob taking Manhattan, right? So I think it's incredibly clever. What is it about in the big picture?
Climate change
Yeah,
or
right.
natural disaster after natural disaster.
Right. And so the blob, it's fun because you know how the Arctic has these new diseases that are emerging, well, old diseases that are coming back into existence because they were frozen into the tundra that is now thawing. And so what a clever idea to have the blob emerge from the tundra, but also be maybe a stand-in for climate change. It's really fun. Yeah. And so do you feel like you're comfortable with omniscient? Do we need to spend more time on it? Alrighty, then we are going to move forward into the fourth person collective. I love the photo I found for this. We're all sheep. Okay, so the reading is a little bit long, which means we have to go to the handout for it. So I'm going to stop the share and we can all our handouts and take a look at it. Unless you're in the wrong folder. Does anybody want to read this piece?
Sure.
Thank you.
I have not, I haven't read it yet, so come along on my journey.
It's a no hard words. It's going to be good.
Okay. Imagine the Fire by Alison Field Bell. We read the devastation in the newspaper, Coffee Park in Paradise, but we don't have to. It's outside in the air, the ash, the thick clogged sky. We wonder who will be next, and will it be us? We remember a time before fire season, when the summer was just summer, not a gathering of kindling, when the fall was just fall, without the waiting. Now we look at our forest and imagine it aflame. The line of trees across from our neighborhood, pine, evergreen, no longer just the origin of that fresh, clean country smell, that lush country beauty, but a thing to be burned. We look at our houses and consider what photograph we will save, what piece of jewelry, and will the cat be found in time? And is it even safe to fall asleep in October, in November? We set up the alert system on our phones, and even when we aren't in California, we learn about small brush fires that could or could not be the next tragedy. Then one October, we are evacuated. In the middle of the night, our phones go off. Cops drive through neighborhoods, announcing themselves, sirening down our streets, panic, fear. We pack our photographs, our jewelry. We find the cat. We stare at the dark wall of trees beyond our windows, willing them to survive. We load into our cars, and we are caught in a line of traffic. We imagine the fire coming now. What would we do? Where would we run? One way out, one way in. The cat cries in the back seat. We can't see any stars or discern any smoke. It seems like cloud cover, but we know better. The air is full of that burnt smell. We know that the sun will rise red and full behind a haze of swirling ash. We hope to be in the city by then, far away from trees and the dark, unlit corners of country where we have made our homes. Some of us will eventually move away, too many question marks and too much to lose. We will take control, move to a desert without trees, where soon there won't be any water at all, but at least there are no fires. Or we will move to the Midwest, so wet and green and safe, but with winters growing harsher, less predictable. Better to freeze than burn, we think. We think to escape unscathed because we can't think and we won't. Can't believe that all we can do is watch our world burn, wondering what will be left. A wedding ring, a piece of pottery. In the line of cars, some of us honk at each other, but it doesn't sound impatient. It sounds like wailing, pain made palpable, like a woman mourning a loss she cannot even begin to imagine.
Nicely read. Thank you. So amazing because this was obviously published before everything started happening in Los Angeles this winter, right? And poignant that this character decides they'll go to the city to get away from the country that's burning. And then now we have the context of what's been happening, right? I wonder what it means to you to experience this we. And this we is pretty specific. So have I gone collective? Can't be 100% sure. It could be kind of a first person plural. A first person I doesn't show up in here. Can you help? Like, I know why I picked it as a collective we. Can you help maybe inform why you think I might have done that?
Because it's a collective experience. Something
Right,
that if you haven't experienced fire, here in the South, we experience hurricanes, and
right.
sometimes we get the evacuation order. So you pick what you can save, and you pray that your house doesn't, that you have a house when you come back. So it's in every area, I always say you pick your natural disaster.
Yeah. We talked about that at the retreat.
Hmm.
I remember you saying that.
Hmm.
Yeah, so even though there's a cat, and even though the specific we gets trapped in traffic, it could be any of us, don't you think, that has this experience?
Yeah,
Maybe not in Alabama, but
especially toward the end where it's we think to escape unscathed because we think that we won't. We can't think that we won't.
Hmm.
right.
And then artifacts left behind.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you feel comfortable with the concept of collective we as we've discussed it in class today? Okay.
So
Then I'm going to rush us into the writing because I can't believe it's this late. Okay, so a common experience, think of one for a collective, you know, some that are exciting are like famous and infamous. The idea is that the collective experience can become more and more exotic. I wrote this sentence that doesn't make sense. It can become more and more exotic because we have media. So that's something I studied in my PhD program, the way that we have a collective memory that exists through having seen images of things that we didn't experience firsthand. And so it's easier, I think, for us to write in a collective because we have these shared experiences through, technology. So try on anything that happens to a group of people, or it could be animals, or it can be any group that can be written together as one. It could be a school of fish. It could be a murder of crows, speaking of dark. So use the fourth person collective we to tell the story of a shared experience. And one thing that is successful to do, kind of like Elizabeth, you wrote that first person, but we all knew about getting in trouble with somebody else's parent. Childhood is a great place to go to use a we and think of yourself as within your generation or maybe where you lived, or, hurricanes can be a collective experience for Southerners. So natural disasters are good ones. There's all kinds of ideas to write collective experiences on. Y'all have some that you think you could run away with? Okay, I'm going to set the clock and we're going to just go for it.
okay.
So go ahead and get writing, and I will mute everybody during the time we're writing. You have a minute left. All right, let's try to wrap things up. It looks like Merrick was actually in the trenches writing this time.
I'm
And I
struggling.
muted your what?
I said I'm struggling. I wrote one sentence, but that was it.
Oh, I'm sorry you're struggling, but I'm really glad you showed up tonight, for sure. And I muted you all during it, so if you do want to talk, you have to unmute yourselves. And are you wanting to read your one sentence, or do you want to just pass?
No, I'll read it.
Okay, let's hear it.
We walked to homes the hurricane took, the one we moved into after our mothers demanded we quit behaving like a Jezebel, the one we built with our fathers who fell off ladders and died, the one we bought after our second child got stung by too many bees. And we know our lives won't ever be the same because we've lost the last thing we had.
Oh,
Mm.
that was one of those lovely one sentence ones.
Yep.
The bees. What a detail.
Hmm,
I only
beautiful.
wrote one sentence, she says, and then it's like
Yeah, right.
Oprah's choice, like Merrick Hush.
Well, that was great. Can we speed round read so I can be sure that everybody can read and I won't keep you too long?
Yeah,
Yep.
I'll read.
Fantastic. Okay, you're reading Elizabeth Converse? Is
Sure, I'll read.
that what you said? Okay, great.
Yeah. We all remember that Virginia Woolf left us her stories. He told us his words. We remember the stories, the wisdom, the happiness he shared. He gave to us our friend, our father, our brother, our mentor, our colleague, our boss, our soulmate. We remember the smile on the face, the touch, the handshake, the walk, the bike, the horse, the helmet. We all see him together. We all know him. We wonder how he could not know. Did he know? Virginia Woolf left us the words, the stories, the explanations, the reasons. He left one explanation, one message, one thought.
Oh,
Live it.
beautiful.
It's not over.
Yeah, I know, I realize
It's
that.
more than one thought. Live it. Live it all. Give it all. Be kind. Be strong. Take it all. Love it all. Live joyously. Live joyously. Tell us more.
It's much better for not being done when I thought it was. Really beautiful.
Mm.
Yeah. You have a superpower with lists. Those lists just get us into this rhythm. It's really cool. Beautiful. Okay, we're speed rounding. We're not talking. Who can go next?
Well,
Okay, thanks, Havelinda.
okay. We are denizens of survival, wild migrants slipping unheard through desert washes, our narrow bodies pushing paws into sand, leaving prints identifiable only by the most expert. We howl wild parties to account for our numbers, reaching distant ears, voices on the wind, yipping in unmistakable wildness, so wild the domestics dare not bark. When our numbers dwindle, we know, and we call ourselves back into existence, copulating and bringing forth. We can't be repressed. We adapt. We steal a moment with a German Shepherd or a wolf, or we crunch a Chihuahua when we can, just as a reminder.
Mm.
At first, I thought it was Javelina's, and then I realized.
Oh!
I love this idea that they copulate with dogs or eat them, one or the other, right? Fantastic. I'm
They
sorry.
do.
Okay.
They do.
Speed rounding. Speed rounding. Wonderful. Wonderful job. Who's next?
I'll go.
Thank you. And then we'll have Linda English after you.
Your breath escaped in one last gasp as we looked down at you. Tears pooled in your husband's eyes as the doctor turned off the machine and the beeping stopped. You took one last look at your family, your children, as we took your hand. They'll be okay, you whispered. We wiped the tear from your eye. They'll be okay, daughter. We reassured you and led you from the room. In the span of a heartbeat, you stood at heaven's gates. We pushed open the door and gestured for you to enter. You gasped at the beauty around you. We enfold you into our arms. Welcome home, Leah, we whispered in your ear. Here there is no sorrow, no pain. You're free.
Oh,
Oh,
Wow.
beautiful.
Wow, that's
Thank
beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for reading that for us because it could tell it hurt.
That's my one of my friend's sister passed away today, so that was for her.
Oh,
Oh, I'm really sorry to hear
so
that.
sorry.
And beautifully done. I mean, you're definitely,
Yeah.
I think, honoring her by writing like that.
Mm.
And it's an honor to share it with us. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. You make me not want to speed round, Lisa.
No, keep going, keep going, keep going.
Okay, okay, okay. But that was really beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Linda,
Um,
English.
the ice dragged its disintegrating body across the tundra. It could no longer support the caravan of hunters that once slid across its belly. Its majestic whiteness with its hues of sapphire blue had been replaced with dotted lines of dismal gray, and in many of its crevices odors of rot and primordial decay were expelled into the air. There would no longer be songs about its greatness.
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
that first line. Wow. And what POV did Linda write? I read it, I heard it as omniscient. Would anybody agree with that? Yeah. Observing the ice dragging its disintegrating body. Oh my goodness. Beautifully omniscient, incredibly full of images. That was just great. You make it, all of you, so hard to speed round. Okay, who's next? Thanks, Sita.
I'll premise this with I am actually a fun person. Even though it's just I come here and I get like real serious about things. Um, and I did sexy you last week, so I'm in the wrong weeks here. So all right. Um, okay. We did adulthood right, bachelor's. We did adulthood right, stacked up bachelor's degrees, master's, pilot's license, and a law degree. Paper ephemera, meaningless. It was from the wrong country. We do it all over again, stateside. The old, we're the oldest in class. We answer more questions than we ask. We teach more than we learn. Another bachelor's and a half a master's later, we're 40, and there's less warm, lazy summers ahead than behind. We have a pre-existing condition. It's not covered. It never was. It never was going to be. We never got ahead past the stacks of textbooks, um, or learned enough to live the right adulthood, all because we were born in the wrong place.
Mm. Wow.
That incredible. And especially, I mean, a bunch of us know some of Sita's story, so we know who these characters are. And you might, if you were looking to do this in a micro, you could just give, a little crystal in this or that, and it would stand by itself. I think it might stand like it is. That was incredible.
Mm,
Wow.
good.
I believe you're fun. I just think you're an amazing observer. So, you know,
Mm.
sometimes observations aren't fun. They are just true. Yeah. Great. Okay, speaker. I'm terrible at this. Did you want to read, Elizabeth?
Sure.
Okay. I think you're who's left, right? Everybody else is
I
gone.
am. I think so.
Okay, great.
Every channel showed us the same dark river, the same banks of flashing lights. Some of us remembered 36 years ago when the plane hit the bridge while the blizzard raged, commuters watching as the Park Police helicopter hovered over the submerged fuselage, plucking victims from the cold water, saving most but not all. And here we are again, staring through our screens at the black water, the moonless night providing no assistance on finding anyone, news anchors repeating the barest bits of information using new vocabulary to make it seem new, but really it's just the same. We lost an airplane filled with our neighbors, promising sports stars, everyday people, and a helicopter with three of our soldiers. We we all thought of the families finding out from the screens that the flight they were waiting for is gone now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very
Heavy.
powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
knowing,
might have had the news on a lot today.
well, you lived there,
Right.
right? Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I
Well,
mean,
coincidentally, I lived here as a kid when the Air Florida plane crashed in the river. I'm not from here, but I just happen to live here at these two times. So,
Hmm.
yeah. Yeah. And when Elizabeth was writing so much about the fires the first week, I mean, your context is so much, right?
Mhm.
And that definitely that I just because I worked with Elizabeth at the Pentagon, so um, the
Mm.
experience of watching those planes flying in, and it always seemed like a miracle that it didn't happen again already,
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Y'all are so amazing.
Mhm.
Um, I had one more slide that we're not going to do. I think it's in the canvas, and thank you for blowing me away. And I mean, you're already wonderful, but my gosh, isn't it amazing just how much more in the groove we are this week? Wait until you get to week, well, we do revision, I think, in 12, but wait till we're like in 11. It's going to be even better. I just feel like it's magic. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. These hearts are making my heart so warm, and now there's balloons.
How do you do that?
I've discovered them. I didn't know this was a thing. Oh my gosh.
No, that's pretty
Oh,
Reactions.
cool.
yeah, you can do it
Love
too.
it. Mm. Oh my
But I
God.
know that
Oh my goodness.
we all have things that are happening in life that can make it hard to set aside this time, and it's just incredibly special that you're all here and the magic happened again. I know I'm always blown away. So I'll see you over. I'll see you over in Kansas, and I am running a workshop this weekend. So if I'm a little bit slower, please accept my apologies. I just have this other thing happening too, so it's a busy week.
Can you re-invite me or whatever?
I did just send the invite while you were
Okay,
writing
thank
this
you.
time, and then do reach out to me if that's not working, and we'll figure it out.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Can't wait to see you over
Bye.
there.
Thank
Good
you.
night, everyone.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Good
Good
night,
night,
Bye.
everybody.
everyone.
Good
Thank you for
night.
coming. Bye.